Assange, Julian Assange. Not going to be extradited to the United States, although it seems the U.S. will appeal the ruling. But it was really an interesting ruling. I mean, the judge actually agreed with the United States' arguments, which have been concerning to a lot of people, the use of the Espionage Act against, I think you can call Julian Assange a journalist. She agreed with all of the arguments the United States put forward, but she said that Julian Assange could not be extradited, that there were mental health concerns, and that she wasn't satisfied that he would be prevented from committing suicide in an American supermax prison. I think it's safe to say that he's lost his marbles a little bit, being locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years and being blatantly spied upon by the United States the whole time he was there. I think maybe anyone would lose their marbles under those circumstances. Maybe he thought that Trump would be more likely to set him free, so he seemed to be a little bit more favorable towards Trump in the 2016 election. But being a transparency activist and letting us know what our government is up to, I think is something that's a valuable thing.
I think for anyone who has a problem with what he did and others like him did, think about how little we would know without the likes of him, without Chelsea Manning. And I think as far as this judge's decision, what it says to me is that, like you said, she agreed with her case, but she cited his mental health. And basically, it's basically saying, like, you're not giving me enough to go by. Like, I can't do this if it's so clear that you're going to really mess him up mentally if I send him over there. It's not politically actionable on my part. I'll catch too much heat for it. And honestly, I did not expect that result. I heard about contemporaneous reporting about this trial, and everything I saw about it made it seem like a bit of a kangaroo court, that it was just a formality. And no matter what, the UK was going to look after its ally, the US, and dutifully send over the scalp of Julian Assange. And I think this is an incredible stand by this judge, one that I did not expect, but that in retrospect, I guess she was more sensitive to these kinds of considerations of the UK's international reputation, perhaps, than I would have anticipated.
I mean, maybe John Pilger said that this is a face-saving ruling. I think they are trying to split the baby in a sense here. They're saying the United States, we do agree with your arguments. We love you. Please don't hate us. We love you, United States. And backing up this troubling use of the Espionage Act against journalists and everything the United States was arguing. And yet she's saying that we're not going to extradite him. With this argument about the mental health, which I think is very relevant, but they get to kind of have it both ways, because they formally agree with the United States, and yet they are bowing to, I think you could maybe say, international opinion here and not allowing him to be extradited. But yeah, I think the mental health concerns are very real. I think you can look at Chelsea Manning being held in solitary confinement. It was something that was not good for her mental health, for sure.
Yeah, Chelsea Manning was put in jail giving stuff to WikiLeaks, right? So there's your exhibit A of what we could expect happening to Assange. And what's happened to Chelsea Manning is horrifying. Extended solitary confinement, invasive strip searches. It's funny, we draw a line in our heads, I think a lot of us instinctually, between physical beating and shouting and beratement and all that kind of stuff. But these sort of prolonged treatments like solitary confinement, having no books, having no access to sunlight, etc., are fucking horrifying. Even though it's not a taser or a metal bat or a 200 psi ice cold water hose, like, these things are absolutely horrifying, you know?
A lot of people would just say that's outright torture, solitary confinement, and it's another way that our prison system is just an outlier compared to the rest of the world in our use of solitary confinement, which is, you go back and read about MK Ultra and the stuff that the CIA was experimenting, and solitary confinement and sensory deprivation was a big part of it. And it does definitely fuck people up.
And they were really after him, because do you remember that instance? I don't know how many years ago it was now, probably I'd say around halfway through this 7-year stint at the Ecuadorian embassy, where they actually grounded the plane of Evo Morales, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Over Switzerland, because they believed that Julian Assange was on it. They wanted him bad. Like that, there's no
He was living rent free in their brains.
there's no international precedence in terms of international law, like treaty or practice, custom, whatever, of just summarily grounding a plane of a head of state because a guy that you want to be in prison in your country may be flying on it.
It's just another thing that shows the lack of regard for really the norms of other countries and their leaders, and particularly of the Pink Tide. There's no love lost between them and Evo Morales at this time. And to force the plane of a sitting leader of another country to be grounded, this is something that would never happen in the United
And
States.
again,
obviously.
over
No country would think
something
about doing this to our president.
Yeah, and again, this is over something that in the scheme of things is a trifle.
Not if you're part of this national security state that's trying to, protect U.S. interests at all costs.
Yeah, nothing about what Julian Assange has leaked has caused any damage to the national security state beyond its reputation and just letting people know what it's actually doing.
I'd just like to say that we are pro damaging the U.S. national security surveillance state here on Podme, or I am. Whether the arguments against Assange were proven or not, the national security state needs to be damaged. That's an oppressive institution. And
they made these blanket claims at various points that what he does endangers their operatives and operations. And that's never been borne out to be true.
There was never any proof that operatives were really in danger, although if they were, good. As far as I'm concerned, I always talk about this book, Killing Hope by William Bloom, which was very much informed by the work of Philip Agee, who was this CIA agent who went rogue and leaked a bunch of documents and information about what the CIA was up to. And it did expose a lot of CIA agents. And that's when the United States passed this law making that specifically illegal. But good, these people should be exposed while they're going around undermining other countries and trying to overthrow elected leaders. This is stuff that should not be going on.